This is the Gospel Revolution.
Since you're knocking on the door, you're begging to come in, yeah. Unaware that all the while love's been knocking from within. You are the love you see, a perfect yet unique, righteous, holy.
Here's the founder and president of the Gospel Revolution, Michael Lilborn Williams.
Hello, Daniel Rouse.
How are you on this wonderful day?
Well, it's very, very good. I've got my trainer. I'm getting my diet straightened out, and the gym is wonderful, and my diet is wonderful, and I'm getting back in shape after the almost 2.5 year cataclysmic health event, and I've been working my way back by myself, but now I have a trainer, and now I have a dietitian who's planning out my meals and everything for me. So I'm just so happy.
Well, if you keep going this way, we might have you for the next 100 years.
Oh, dear Lord, I'm quitting to work out today. Jesus. I refuse to work out again. And everything well with you, my friend?
Yes, sir. All is well here in the great state of Wisconsin. We are actually having we haven't given a weather report in a while. I've been enjoying the weather down here, and I actually look forward to fall when the leaves start to turn as it gets real pretty.
Yes. Our days here are doing the same thing. You're going to experience fall way before we do. And but it's already, goodness, it's nice to walk outside. Oh goodness, it's still warm, but it's not oppressive heat. You know, that's the bad thing that I've noticed about age. I used to love heat and hate the cold, and now I hate both of them. So
yeah, you loved your controlled environment.
I do. It's just like, don't touch the thermostat. Yeah. That's my stay off of my lawn moment. It's, don't touch my thermostat.
Well, you know, Michael, we have just this journey of the 1,000 years has. I mean, I lay down at night and I feel like I think differently. You know, it's like everything is affected by understanding what's happening and what has happened, and that the 1,000-year reign was a historical period of time.
God,
and not something that nobody has to look forward to or dread looking forward to, because it's a done deal.
Well, it's just another thing that Jesus said, it is tetelestai. Then, and tetelestai, it is finished, means it's finished.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean, guess what's coming next? Stay tuned. You know, I mean, it's like Bugs Bunny cartoons out there, 46,000, Looney Tunes going on. But, oh my gosh, and you are right, Daniel. I have spoken to people since we've done the conference. They've wept on the phone. They have. They're so impacted by this understanding that they hardly know what to do with themselves. And the thing that we are coming to realize is that all of this stuff about peace and joy and all this, it really is rooted in understanding the gospel. Yeah. If there is a manifestation of those things, I was just talking to my sister, and I told her, I shared a little bit more gospel with her than usual, but she seemed to be kind of ready to open up her ears a little bit. And because I don't share with anybody that doesn't want to hear, right? Mm-hmm. And so we started talking, and I told her, I said, Donna, I said, sweetie, if doing this right, if humans doing this right is what has to be done, and all the things, the end of the world and the second coming, if all of that is part of this, which one of the 46,000 denominations are right about it?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because every single one, and then subdivided within them.
Yeah,
there's people that sit there and just tolerate what the preacher preaches about this because I agree with him about this and that, but I don't. You know, you had those in your church. You know, the dumb people. You know? Who's the dumb people? It's the ones that don't agree with the pastor, right? But no, this is having a mental, emotional, and a functional impact on people's brains.
Yeah.
They go to bed at night just like you and I do, not really sure why. Everything's okay, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. You know, and I was telling my sister, I said, you know, as much as I love my little Corbin, 10 years old, I do not spend one whit of time. Wit. That's a pretty nice
wit.
Not a whit of time do I spend worrying about my grandson. I just told him. Somewhere along the way in Christianity, we got duped into thinking that worry was love. And I finally realized that's not true. And for God so loved the world that he worries about us. You know? We did all of that research we did on love, and what a wonderful challenge that was to our thinking. And please, when you listen to that series on love, don't think that Daniel and I presented to you the end all to be all about love. Oh, dear God, if we're just scratching the surface, we'll be happy. You know? If we're just provoking the world to think, we'll be happy.
Yeah.
We're not on here to be right. We're here to share and to know and understand and research truth. Regardless of who that makes right or wrong is completely irrelevant to us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this, the 1,000-year reign, I never dreamed of a world where that I could say that I understood that.
Yeah.
You know, as you've said, all of our Word of Faith folks know that all of them admit they don't because they say, well, it's pre, mid, post, or pan. You know, it'll all pan out in the end. And so, woof, there we go. We just pass that off, and then off to the races we are with our doctrines, our do's, our don'ts, our gotta believes, and you got to speak in tongues, and you got to cast out devils, and you got to eat the wafer the priest gives you on Sunday, or you're going to hell. You got to go to confession. You know, you got to observe the laws. You have to attend church. Can't forsake the assembling. I'm already tired.
And so it is. We must leave you.
Because we're tired already. Just talking about it makes you tired. But the folks that I've heard from, I've not heard from everybody, are just they're having the same experience that you and I are.
You know, and now that we have placed that 1,000-year reign of Christ, starting with the seating of King David on the throne up until the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, which is a 1,000-year historical period. Now that we have done that, Michael, it kind of opens up another understanding about what it means for God to reign today. What is this eternal reign? Yeah. What is this eternal life? What is this eternal righteousness? Because now that we have placed that 1,000-year period in the past, we now understand today, and I'm going to steal Larry Huggins' title again, time. Today is my eternity.
Yeah.
We're in that right now.
Yeah.
And that opens up a whole new world to us as well.
Well, it does. And, you know, if we would have understood just the aspect, one single aspect of the gospel, that Jesus put down all authorities, all powers, kaput. He horizontaled everything, and there's nothing left in a vertical position. Nothing that's built on a tower. There's nothing from top to bottom. Just the term that is used at the end of Revelation to describe all of this, which Revelation really is, at least in part, covers the entire 1,000-year reign of Christ. We would have never even thought all this crazy crap if we would have just accepted that if Jesus was King of Kings, after the cross, they ain't no kings.
Mm-hmm.
Lord of Lords, there's no lords.
Yeah.
The great high priest, the final high priest, there's not any more of them.
Mm-hmm.
That alone would have told us that this rule of that caused him to become King of Kings, which that's the way that the Revelation describes the 1,000-year reign, is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And that alone should have told us that it was before the cross for sure.
Yeah.
That alone, not to count the multitude of other evidence that we have.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's a prophecy out of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 6, and leave it to us to go to the Hebrew scriptures, right?
Yeah.
For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder. And his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end. Mm-hmm. Upon the throne of David and over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with justice and judgment. From that time forward, even forever, the zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this.
That gives us a picture of the 1,000-year reign that goes all the way up to Christ. And then it tells us that an eternal reign takes over. And that's about as simple as it can get, as far as I can tell. And that's all about Jesus before and after. And now his kingdom is not a 1,000-year kingdom. What was that list that said that he was now? He's not King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He is.
Yeah, he is Wonderful, Counselor, yes. Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and the Prince of Peace.
Oh, there you go. So that's what came after the 1,000-year reign of King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He is no longer King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He fulfilled that. It just sounds strange saying he's not King of Kings and Lord of Lords. We've got it in so many of our songs. But you've got to understand he carries a much higher position now. Yeah. And it's not a temporal 1,000-year reign. It is an eternal reign now. And in that reign is complete equality with God and man and angels. And as we went into the Revelation as to how that he separated out of creation, he separated out of that the devil, that old serpent, the demons, Lucifer, and all of those names that were not written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and threw it all in the lake of fire, along with the death, which when it says that he swallowed up hell, that's actually that it burned up death. So because hell does not mean Christian hell.
Yeah.
That's Hades. And what that was referring to was the death of that came on Adam. And then when Christ came and revived all of them and revived us who were alive, brought us to life, then that great separation of the wheat and the chaff and it's just all just so simple now, it's just kind of boring, really.
Yeah.
that he took all the rest of it and it was all burned up. There's no future events. And that makes the events, everyday events of your life are eternal events.
Mm.
You are experiencing eternity. You are experiencing the life. And as I was chatting with my sister, I said, what about all of this stuff? I said, we were talking about I was actually calling to make sure that they had missed the worst part of that storm. And they're in Knoxville area and west of there, and everything was east of Knoxville into North Carolina. And it's just, last count was over 200. Still, there's people they won't find for months because I know those hills over there. It's just amazing how cataclysmic the climate event that took place. It rained an astronomical amount of rain. For 3 days, they got rain that was like 100-year rains.
Wow.
And that rained for 3 days. And then on the fourth day, the hurricane moved in on top of them. And the mountaintops are just washing off. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. But I told her, I said, what is all this about peace and joy? I said, where is that supposed to be in the middle of all this? And I said, I don't feel peaceful or joyful about what happened to these people. But in spite of what happened to them, and even if I was in the middle of it, I would be able to have a peace up in the middle of these things. I'm in the middle of things right now that many people would be just absolutely in a panic about. But I don't panic anymore. Yeah. I don't know why I don't panic anymore. I can't tell you how to not panic. Sometimes I look at these, how many of these crazy little videos about the bush jumping out on people on the streets and sidewalks. And they, jump and jitter, and great big muscle men are doing a little Twinkie dance and all kinds of stuff. It's like, I wonder if that would scare me now. I seem to be so non-reactional to events. I just wonder if I'd turn around and shake the trees. I don't know. I might jump and scream like a little girl myself. But that's just how this feels, that events do not control what's inside of me.
Yeah.
And if we had a bottle we could put it in, we could be the most wealthy people on earth, that people would not be mentally and emotionally and stressfully and worrying affected by external events. What do you do if you don't do that? You take responsibility for whatever you can, and then you do whatever you can do to be of a help. Or you reach out for help if you need it.
Yeah. One of the things you said last week, Michael, that's just been just oozing all over me is we were talking about the mortal putting on immortality. And you made the statement that if you're immortal, then you are not going to be corrupt. You're incorruptible.
Yes.
And for me, a lot of this, Michael, is stemmed from that understanding, because as we talk about being eternal, immortal, what does that mean? That means that none of these circumstances, nothing that anybody does is going to corrupt who I am. And that brings a lot of stability in my thinking, my understanding. And see, in Christianity, I was so focused about this mortal putting on an immortal physical body, in that I could do all these miraculous types of things, walk on water, walk through walls, space travel, whatever, live without eating, so on and so forth. That was the focus, was that natural, tangible, physical world. But as we understand what this eternal life is and this eternal righteousness is that we are not corruptible. So even though this physical body might get sick, this physical body might die, I am eternally righteous and incorruptible. It doesn't matter if my house gets carried down with a hurricane. I am eternally righteous and immortal and incorruptible.
You are
I will forever be in that state, no matter what life throws at me. And goodness, if that don't give you peace.
Well, it is. And it is the understanding of the gospel that has been missing for 2024 years, right? So what is immortal life? Well, all you got to do is read that then is corruptible puts on incorruption.
Yeah.
Well, what does that corruption mean? It means to be able to be corrupted by sin.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an immortal body.
Yeah.
It cannot be corrupted by sin.
Mm-mm-mm.
And so when this mortal shall have put on immortality, and this burden we lay it down, it's only going to be at the graveyard, but we're going to get through it all. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ, folks, come on. Tetelestai. This incredible struggle with sin. My God, Daniel.
Yep. I
don't struggle with sin.
Mm-hmm.
People say, yeah, we know you, Mike Williams. You just enjoy it. Yeah. I don't know if I enjoy it or I just don't even think in terms of sin. Now, I do think in terms of good and evil.
Yeah.
Let me clarify this. Al Vitale would say, Mike, you need to clarify that. So I just heard you, Al, in my ear. There is a difference between sin and good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
I know the difference between good and evil.
Yeah.
You know how? Because I'm God in the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Only God can handle, and I can handle it too.
Yeah.
I can handle the knowledge of good and evil because I am now the only being that could handle the knowledge of good and evil was God. And the only way that man was going to change or man was going to be able to handle the knowledge of good and evil, God said he already had it. He wasn't corrupted by it.
Mm-hmm.
But man was corruptible. People say, well, we just need to get back to where we were before sin. What? Back to corruptible?
Yeah.
We're not corruptible anymore. Oh, God, if nobody ever got anything we ever said, Daniel, they've got to get this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's everybody you meet. But see, people that don't know that they are incorruptible, they don't know how to handle the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, right.
And they don't even know how to select between the two.
Mm-hmm.
It is just amazing that without thought, I know what's good and I know what's evil.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to. I mean, you know what? Today I went from a stretch zone, and the guys there started telling me something about my bill and something that I had. It's kind of like getting into a gym contract. You know, you can't get out of it ever. And now I don't need the stretching because I have a trainer now that helps me do stretching. And so I misunderstood them that they were going to charge me for another month. I think they actually were until they heard my reaction. And I responded. I was not mean, but I did speak up. And I said, that's what everybody hates about this stuff. It's just like gyms. They're going to charge you. And I said, I know that charging people, I said, I don't care where people stand on it, but I know charging people for services that they are not receiving is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then the girl, she changed everything in the computer. And she said, Mr. Williams says, we're doing this and that. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I thought you had to charge. She said, we're supposed to, but I'm not going to with you. And so then she went ahead and did my stretching. And at the end of it, I apologized to her. I said, I do want to apologize to you for getting intense about the situation. And she said, oh, no, sir. Says, you don't have to apologize. And I tipped her and we went on our way. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not that you don't do things that are not exactly courteous. I think I'm one of the most courteous people. Now I knock Daniel around a little bit when he's here, but I mean, look at that face. You just want to, So, but I know that if I do something like that, I know it's not a question of should I apologize or not. It's just a part of it. Right?
Yeah.
So, Daniel, it is just, it's, what do you say? I mean, it's called peace. That's what not worry is. It's called peace. People say, well, I'm just at peace in the Lord. And they get a phone. Oh, better call prayer chain. Oh my God. I'm afraid so-and-so was in there. What if this and what if that? And oh my God. And oh my God. And it almost sounds like we're telling you not to be human, but I don't know what to say except that I do not worry anymore. I mean, Daniel, you've got 2 little girls.
Yeah, I've experienced the same thing, going from a worry wart to.
I bet you were a good one too.
Yeah, and it's, let's just look at the 1,000-year reign. This topic and what this understanding does to the mind is, I was thinking about it this way, is that I think even subconsciously, some of these topics that we haven't dealt with as we have the 1,000-year reign of Christ are still in our brain. And I mean, we were brainwashed in Christianity.
Yeah.
And the effects of that thinking that there is some future judgment, some future fulfillment, some future millennial, some future reign, or something in the future yet to come, still leaves this lingering thoughts in the back of our mind, conscious or subconscious, that we are still striving to obtain something that we don't yet have. Even though, we preach the great grace and peace and righteousness and all that, there's still that if we don't deal with all of these issues, then it's still lingering in there. So what, for example, this one has done, the 1,000-year reign, is removed yet another thing in my mind that would be any string to a future fulfillment of something. And even though I knew everything was done, to have it really permanently in my mind and confirmed in the Hebrew scriptures and really understand it, that this was a literal 1,000 years from King David to King Jesus, that is a done deal. It's now totally vanished from my mind. It's my hard drive been written over. And it's wonderful.
I think my hard drive got run over. So
but each one of these things takes away a little more anxiety. Each one of these things takes away a little more worry. Each one of these things takes a little bit away. And, that's why I just love doing what we do. If nobody listens to us, Michael, I am getting freer and freer and just enjoying everything.
I know. Don would say you shouldn't tell people that. Or not well, it is true. And and again, let us reiterate what we just said, and that is you have an immortal body. Wow. It's going to the grave, but it'll go to the grave immortal.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much better news you can get than that.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever's left is obviously immortal.
Yeah.
And what happens after that, I'm sorry, folks. I don't have what's going to happen. And if you talk to mama or grandpa, I don't know. If you tell me that you died and talked to grandpa and grandma, I'm going to stand there and just be, wow, that is wonderful. I don't have anything to say. How can I offer an opposite opinion to something I don't know a damn thing about?
Right. Yep.
Oh no, that's not the way it is. Now, if you told me he died and went to hell, then I'll tell you just to go to hell. You should have stayed. And I can tell you that because I know there's no such place, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality of this, the immortal. Putting on immortality. That's the other piece of this end of the 1,000-year reign. was that the mortal would put on immortality.
Mm.
And then, of course, the first death, which is Adam. And then the only other death, the second death, was the lake of fire.
Yeah.
And everybody that died in Adam and then was written in the Lamb's Book of Life before the foundation of the world. How could your believing have anything to do with where your name is? It says that those names were put in there before the foundation of the world.
Mm.
How does your decision, oh, well, God knew whether you was going to reject him? That's what these guys teach when they get down to the nitty gritty. That's why we in the Pentecostal and Word of Faith movement had enough sense to say, well, I just believe it's pre, mid, post, or pan. It's all going to pan. Why? Because we didn't have to answer the damn questions. That's why.
Yeah.
But what are we doing? We're answering the questions.
Yeah.
Directly to you. We are telling you that body that hurts right now, that body of your loved one who's in the hospital dying with cancer right now, they have an immortal body.
Mm.
That body is immortal because it cannot be charged with sin.
Mm. And that is this kingdom without end.
Yes.
This is the kingdom that Jesus established by putting all rule and authority and power down. He fulfilled that prophecy. And here it is again. I read out of Isaiah 9. Here it is out of Luke chapter 1. And behold, you will conceive in your womb and bring forth a son and shall call his name Jesus. He will be great. He'll be called the Son of the Highest. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he'll reign over the house of Jacob forever. And of his kingdom there will be no end.
Yeah.
And this is the eternal kingdom. This
That's
is
not
the
a 1,000-year reign, is it?
No, yeah. It's forever and ever.
Yeah, we wanted to make this as clear as we can understand it. You guys will probably get it better than we do. Half of you are much better at this than we are. And that is that there was a 1,000-year reign, but the 1,000-year reign concluded in an eternal kingdom, an eternal reign, but not a reign over kings and lords, but a reign together with all of humanity, one in which has been subtracted the serpent. Yeah, that one that was in the garden, he's gone, folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The devil, yeah, that one, he's gone. The devil, yeah, that one, he's gone. Demons, yeah, that one, he's gone. The fallen angels, yeah, they're gone. Nothing here but righteousness now.
Mm. See, that's just another one of those things. There's not external forces out there influencing or affecting our lives in any way.
That is an imaginary world. And man, and it can get pretty vivid imagination though.
Oh yeah.
Man, I cast out them devils and man, we saw them things. Yeah. And smells. It's like, I think they just farted. I don't think it. I was like, I remember Normal coming, oh my God, that demon stinks. Oh my God, that demon stinks. Oh my, you smell that demon. Yeah, I think they just crapped their pants as they're going through the list.
Or on the other side, the Rose of Sharon.
Oh, dear Lord. Oh, yeah. So spiritual we were. Oh, my God. And those were very real to us, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've got to realize that Daniel and I didn't think we were faking anything.
Mm-hmm.
But your mind, once you are taught that certain experiences are a sign of spirituality, your mind is so desperate to know God, your mind will create that experience for you.
Yeah. Wow.
And I've told people before, I said, you got told, boy, that's really good English. You got told that if you believed and if you prayed the prayer and now join hands with me and all of that you'd be saved. And some of you felt it, some of you didn't. And I started telling people this 30 years ago, Daniel, that if I told you and if I convinced you, if you went out on a full moon and you stood in your backyard and you stood on your right leg and you lifted one foot and you put one finger up toward heaven and you put the other finger on the side of your nose and you bend down 3 times and you jump in the air 3 times and then you go whoop, 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 and then you turn around and then squat down again and then stand up and then say, Jesus is Lord, you'll be saved.
Mm-hmm.
Or, just say hallelujah, you'll be saved. So I guarantee you will feel saved.
Yeah.
If I convinced you that doing that would do that.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing is people, just because we come convinced that people say, if I get baptized, that's the point. There's a lot of people that have water baptism testimonies. Oh my God. I mean, it's like that come up out of there and oh my goodness. And you told your biker chick baptism story. I love that story. And, but if somebody can convince you of it, that salvation is through doing this or that or a caliphate, think of it. That when somebody convinces you that salvation is in a war against somebody, you don't tell me you don't understand these people. You do understand these people. You are these people. You are these people because you did what you were told you had to do to be saved.
Yeah.
They're doing what they've been told they have to do to be saved. What they have to do to go to heaven. You see, the danger is not which religion. The danger is what you're telling people anything that they have to do to be saved and to be accepted by God or to go to heaven and to miss hell. That screws up the mind. When you have a mind that's trying to gain heaven and shun hell, honey, there is no telling. I'm telling you, I've been around the lying Christians and Christianity. If you actually believe Christianity, you are a liar. Mm-hmm. Because you have to lie. You have to say you're doing it all right because that's what Christianity says. If you do this, and then you've done that. If you did that wrong, then you're not really saved. If you do this and you do that. So finally, I remember I used to go up in every altar call. I mean, everyone they preach is like, oh, well, dear God, I got to go up again. And here we go again. That's like, and I didn't know it till the preacher told me how sinful what I was doing or not doing. Remember the one when I'd started preaching grace. I wished I could remember the old guy's name. I'd love to expose him to everybody. And he got up and told everybody that if they didn't tithe, they were going to hell.
Wow.
And that was in one of Norval's meetings. There was over 1,000 people sitting there. But when the mind becomes convinced of these things, you will follow suit. That's why we are trying our best to encourage you not to believe anybody or anything about spiritual things.
Yeah.
Whatever you decide on, make sure you know it. And the only thing, I don't have any problem at all saying you got to know it from the Hebrew scriptures. Because that's what Jesus said.
Yeah.
I mean, don't tell me Jesus is Lord, but we're not going to follow his, you say you're following his teachings? Really? And then turn around and poo-poo the Hebrew scriptures, which he said is where you'd find him? I don't know, people. I don't know about some of you guys. I'm telling you, I don't even know about me anymore. But I know that I believe nothing. I don't believe. I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer. And I think because I'm not a believer, I'm not a worrier. I go based on what we have gained and everything we've taught you about the 1,000-year reign of Christ. And Daniel's telling you about his experience. There's just peace on the other side of it. And it's not peace because we did it right or because we believed it right. It's because we now know, based on the information found in the place we were told to look, is there.
Yeah. So this is the outcome of understanding that the 1,000-year reign is done, and we are now living in an eternal kingdom as immortal people, incorruptible. Woo! What a ride, folks.
If you want a denomination, go ahead. There's plenty to choose from.
Yep.
Take a lick of every one of them if you want. I know I tried a whole bunch of them and a whole lot of flavors. And I'm telling you, my freedom was that I just don't partake. I don't partake.
Mm-hmm.
And I followed a conversation with my sister on the phone. She said some of the goofiest things that anybody could ever say. But I was able to wrap the conversation in this one thing, that there's no need to worry.
Yeah.
And she came to a place where the Lord showed her this and the Lord showed her that, and that he's in control. So I don't have to worry. And I said, well, if you really don't worry, I said, that's okay. She's 75. Why am I going to try to change her mind?
Yeah.
And I said, Donna, I want you to know, honey, that I am very happy for you. But whatever you do, don't let go of that. There is no reason for you to worry, because I know that my whole family, we're professional worriers. I mean, I didn't say warriors. I said worriers. And it's just amazing. I didn't need to get my sister's doctrine right. I just needed to know that she had found a place where she could live at peace.
Yeah.
And that she's not responsible for everything that's going on. And that she can change it. She said that she couldn't change it. And that is as far as she may ever get. But for right now, that's far enough. I told her I was very happy for her. Didn't try to change her mind at all. And I told her, I said, Donna, I've experienced the same thing. I don't worry at all. So at least there's two of us that's crazy in the world.
Michael, I want to shift gears here a little bit for us. You were telling me about a conversation that you had here maybe a couple weeks ago. I know he tried calling me. If you're listening, Robert May, I apologize. I'm terrible at returning phone calls. Ask Michael. But
he's going to burn in the lake of fire is what's going to
happen. But Michael, Robert May, and I remember having a conversation with Robert about this a couple years ago, I think it was, because he participated in one of our conferences. Mm-hmm. But he was bringing up this topic and understanding about the Apostle Paul. Mm-hmm. And Michael, this has been something that you had hoped for and wished for, but if it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't, because we don't try to go finding these things. And that is to see that the Apostle Paul really did have a life that was ordained by God.
Yeah.
And Michael, you got to share some of this understanding that you've come to and been bringing out, because I think some of the people would love to hear what you shared with me.
Well, and then Daniel and I have looked through it together. So a lot of things I'm going to be sharing with you aren't just things that I shared with Daniel. It's things that Daniel's also shared with me. So this had been on my mind, and I called, Robert May gave me a call, and I don't know. I don't know how I got to the question, but I just became so convinced that I was suspicious of the fact that it's like, how in the world did the disciples all miss it and Paul get it right? If we're right about that,
mm-hmm.
Was things just so flung out of anybody's control that this is just the way it accidentally happened, or what?
Mm.
And so I can't remember the exact chain of events, so I'm just going to tell you the things. One of them included a call with Robert May. We will give you a video that he has on this subject. I should have known it before I came on here, but he was in our 2021 conference, I think, maybe. And but he did some speaking on this. I just was not ready to be able to focus on it at the time. And maybe that's where all these seeds got planted, was by Robert May. So, but what happened after that conversation? And he was telling me about his persuasion that Paul was selected by God before the cross. And so, sometimes information has to get in trickle at a time through a cement wall,
Yeah.
And so one of the pieces of information, and like I say, I don't know the order of these pieces of information, but the first one of them was that Paul was born before Christ. I don't know that is even a true statement, but I know he was born before the crucifixion, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all the disciples were chosen, right, by Christ. So Paul then, the story in Acts chapter 9, I think it is, Daniel, Paul says that he was chosen from his mother's womb to do this. So I just finished the testimony of Paul week before last, right? So in doing the testimony of Paul, the issue came up that as I read through his pedigree, he said that he was a Hebrew of Hebrews and that he was of the tribe of Benjamin. So I think that it was Robert May that pointed out to me that King Saul was of the tribe of Benjamin.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, I fell into a burning ring of fire. This really, really did turn the light on in my head about this. And so what we're going to continue to do here is share with you these things of possibility. Man, I tell you, I'm excited about it. It makes things so understandable. It makes it so understandable why the disciples never got it, because they weren't ever supposed to.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that Robert May goes into is this choosing of Matthias as the new 12th apostle. And, you know how they chose him. They drew lots.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you ask the Lord what to do, And the interesting thing about Matthias is once they chose him, you never hear another word about him. Nothing. So Robert May brings out that he is convinced that Paul was the 12th apostle, and the 12th that was to fill that place of the martyr, Stephen. And now I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a picture here that is beginning to come into focus that really is powerful. It causes us to believe Paul when he says that he was chosen from his mother's womb. All right. So then what Daniel and we basically got on together and started talking about this information. And so we started Googling and researching and comparing the two lives. And I thought, why have I never thought about that Saul was king of the very first king before David, and that Saul came immediately after king, after the king that fulfilled the throne of David.
Wow.
All right, so I've got reason to have some here. As Daniel and I were conversing about this, we started questioning and asking questions and then asking AI about these comparisons between these two characters. And being the son of that King Saul came right before King David, and then Saul of Tarsus comes right after King Jesus. who was the son of David. So I would think that most of you would say you got a legitimate reason to look at this, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because all of us have questioned, we all believe that everything was fulfilled at the cross and that nothing was selected or chosen after the cross. Everybody was you're either selected and chosen before the cross, or we're all chosen equally after the cross.
Yeah.
So how did God choose Paul after the cross? The issue would be that Saul was not an afterthought. Just the same as Adam and his fall was not an afterthought for God. And I began to think about what Don convinced me of. There is no plan B. There is no plan B. There is no plan B from the creation of Adam to the partaking of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There's not a plan B that took over from there. That's what all Christianity teaches from. That's what I taught from. And as we were thinking about this, I thought, my God, if there was no plan B at the beginning, surely to God there was no plan B at the end.
Yeah.
And if God is who we are convinced he is, then he would have had this all figured out beforehand. And according to Paul's testimony, that is what happened. And that God had called Paul from his mother's womb definitely before the cross.
And, Michael, coincidentally, that the King Saul was right before King David, which is the start of the 1,000-year reign.
Yes.
And then the Apostle Saul, or Saul of Tarsus, is exactly at the end of the 1,000-year reign at the resurrection.
Yeah. It gets really weird, folks. So then we started trying to compare. Well, then there has to be a lot of comparisons between King Saul and Saul of Tarsus. The one thing we found out was that it's the only man I know, we may have it written down here, where Saul had an experience that said, I'm going to change you into another man.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, we know Saul of Tarsus. God changed his name. I mean, he gave him a total different name.
Talk about changing a man. You change his name. That's a different man.
And then here is King Saul in 1 Samuel 10:6. And this is when Samuel was anointing him as king. And this is part of that ceremony, if you will. And he's prophesying. He says, the Spirit of the Lord will come upon you, and you will prophesy with them and be turned into another man.
Oh, God. I don't know of any place that ever says that. Other than that, I don't know of any. It may be. But this changing a man into another man, the only two places I know of it happening was Saul of Tarsus and King Saul. Now, that's the only ones I know about. To say that their lives changed, that would exclude everybody whose life changed. What we're talking about is a change on almost a molecular cell, a molecular level, as far as the way they thought. Now, King Saul, let's look at him a little bit. So, the one thing that we learned was, which is known. I mean, all this information has been known for ever since was. And what did Saul do to David? He persecuted him. He chased him. He hunted him down. He did all of these things to him. And I want you to quote to us, Daniel, in Acts 9, what did Jesus say to him when he appeared to him on the road to Damascus?
Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?
That is the son of David saying that to Saul. And that is exactly what David went through with King Saul.
Wow.
And Saul, though, it's almost like mirror image. It reversed them. Saul starts out in the favor of God.
Mm-hmm.
Saul starts out chosen of God. Now, Saul is not a part of this anointed line because that didn't start until David.
Right.
You see, Saul was before this 1,000-year reign and this lineage of David. He was not a part of that kings or the kings that followed that are listed as part, like Solomon and all the way down until the destruction of Babylon. And all the way from there, all the way to the cross, actually, which was 1,000 years. I mean, it's the numbers all work. So now we're looking at this possibility of this man, Saul, being chosen by God. Now, after Jesus asked him, "Why are you persecuting me?" Then what does the rest of that say?
Acts chapter 9, verse 4. Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And he said, Who are you, Lord? Then the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. It is hard for you to kick against the goads. So he trembled and astonished said, Lord, what do you want me to do? And then he said to them, Arise and go into the city, and you'll be told what to do. And from that point, that's when he goes and sees Ananias.
Then where is it before that Paul says that he was called from his mother's womb?
Yeah, that is Galatians chapter.
Oh, okay.
That's Galatians chapter 1 and verse 15. But when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me through his grace.
Yeah.
And what Jesus said to Ananias.
Yeah.
Ananias. I don't know why I was trying to put an R in there. Ananias. The Lord said to Ananias, Arise and go to the street called Straight and inquire at the house of Judas for the one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he is praying, and in a vision he has seen a man named Ananias coming in and putting his hand on him so that he might receive sight. Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before the Gentiles, kings, and the children of Israel, for I will show him how many things he must suffer for my name's sake.
All right. So, we hold in question a lot of things that the book of Acts has to say. However, this coincides with what Paul said about his own experience.
Mm-hmm.
And not just in this place, but other places also about this 3 years in the desert being taught. And all of this coincides. And then what Jesus has said to him, the reason you need to do this is I called this man. I've chosen this man. This man was chosen. That's what Paul said. When did the choosing take place? After the cross? No. The choosing took place before the cross.
Yeah.
Possibly before Jesus's birth. I mean, I'm amazed at how much variation there is in observations of how old Saul was compared to Jesus. And I've never been able, if somebody out there can get a tale on it, we do know that he was born before Jesus died on the cross for sure. But I don't know that it would affect what we're talking about at all. But according to Jesus, that he was chosen to do this work. Now, do you know what that tells me? If Saul was chosen to do and to preach this gospel, it means that the disciples were not. The disciples were chosen to be the disciples, the ones that knew him personally. And Paul was the one to come but see, they were blinded. they were blinded by God himself. The same one who had the blindness came over Saul physically, God had blinded everyone, including the disciples, from being able to see. And he constantly told them, you don't understand. You don't understand anything I tell you. You've never understood anything I've ever told you.
Yeah.
And, but he has to be saying it tongue in cheek because he's the one that caused that to happen. And there's no place. I mean, you would think whatever degree the blindness came off of them, it would have come off them equally with everybody else at the same time.
Yeah.
But there is undoubtedly a inability of Peter, James, and the writer of 1st, 2nd, 3rd John. There is an inability to see the tetelestai of the Christ.
Yeah.
They all have something more happen. They are all of those guys, and possibly Apollos also, are waiting for the manifestation of this kingdom on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading through Hebrews, Daniel. I didn't share this with you, and when Apollos was talking about, I think it's just like in the 2nd verse or something. Where Apollos is talking about it, and he said, we're waiting on him to come into this world and establish his kingdom, and something about the world and establishing his kingdom. But the word world there is our famous word for the Roman Empire and Jerusalem, the very area of Jerusalem.
Oikoumene.
It's the oikoumene. And thank you for rescuing me there. You knew I couldn't think of it. So Apollos said that Jesus was going to come back and establish a kingdom in the oikoumene.
Wow.
Now that just blew me away.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to think. I know I've not shared that with you, have I?
No.
We probably could check here and see where that is.
Verse 6, and again, when he bringeth in the first begotten into the oikoumene, he saith, and let all the angels of God worship him.
All right. So see, that shows that he understands what the oikoumene is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Keep going.
2:5, for unto the angels hath he not put in subjection the oikoumene to come.
Isn't that something?
Whereof we speak.
He's talking about a kingdom coming to the oikoumene.
Wow.
And he proves he knows what the oikoumene is.
Yeah.
It's the place where Jesus was brought into. And where Jesus was brought into was where they're waiting on, Apollos is waiting on him to set up a kingdom.
Wow. So that's Hebrews 2:5. For unto the angels hath he not put in subjection the world, the oikoumene, to come, wherefore we speak. Wow.
Yeah. So, and I don't know what to do with that, folks. I'm telling you, you guys know I've had my mind blown about Apollos. I was talking to Jackie Barnard the other day, and he says, Mike, still have hope for Apollos. And I said, me too. I can't get him up on my buddy. I know I have to be. He said, it's got to be metaphorical. I said, I know. We're trying to find a way to. But to say that we're completely open to this was jarring to me. Because the term oikoumene is very clear. So earlier he said that Jesus was brought into the oikoumene, and now he's saying that he's coming back. That the oikoumene to come. There's an oikoumene to come.
Mm-hmm.
That there's going to be a kingdom set up where Jesus was born.
Yeah.
So he's not confused about what an oikoumene is or the place that the oikoumene is. So I don't know. But anyway, we probably shouldn't have thrown that in there on you guys. but
bonus,
yeah, or whatever it is. But I need some of you guys to get in here and start doing some real good research with us on Hebrews. I still there's things that I have learned in Hebrews about the sacrifice, the priesthood, and once and for all, and that the life-changing event. And just reading through that the blood of bulls and goats only lasted for a year, and that they didn't have to deal with sin. They had no sin consciousness for a whole year, but that the blood of Christ was forever.
Wow.
And, no matter what he was right or wrong about, that he was very right about. Mm-hmm. But I'd like for him to be right about everything. But we just don't know. But that's how open we are. That's how committed we are to the Hebrew Scriptures. And goodness, folks, if Paul was saying things that were against the Hebrew Scriptures, were different than the Hebrew Scriptures, I'd point that out. Mm-hmm. I don't have a choice in the matter. This is not things where that we are praying to see what the Lord says about it. We're looking where the Lord told us to look. Mm-hmm. And we're comparing everybody's teachings to what the result is in the work of the cross. And so far, Paul teaches distinctly different than any other writer in the New Testament, including Hebrews. But Paul never spoke about many of these things that have become very, very much treasured to our hearts. But just because he didn't talk about them didn't mean they weren't right. Mm. But just like the comparisons that we did in Paul saying that he swallowed up death in victory. And that's exactly what the Hebrew Scriptures say. And yet the writer of Hebrews says that he tasted of death. And there's no scripture anywhere of that kind in the entire Old Testament. Mm. And we do understand that he did destroy the one that had the power of death. But there's no place in Hebrews that says death has been destroyed. Mm. That I've been able to find. Maybe you guys can find it. So these are just things we're trying to learn. We don't have anything that we're stuck to. We're willing to change our minds about anything. We just know what has to measure up to standard is the Hebrew Scriptures.
And speaking about these different characters writing different in different ways, one of the things you brought up about the tribe of Benjamin is that when Israel was split up, there was never a time where the tribe of Benjamin and the tribe of Judah split. They were always together. And what a beautiful picture of understanding Jesus being the tribe of Judah, Saul being from the tribe of Benjamin, and then you have the representations as you see in Revelation paints this picture of the 12 sides of the city, each representing the 12 tribes and the 12 apostles. And so you have that, but then you have 10, 11 that have gone a different way and taught a different message, but you have this one, the tribe of Benjamin and the tribe of Judah, that remain true.
Exactly what happened throughout the 1,000-year reign. Mm-hmm. 11 tribes separated and went to the north, and even still under King David, as far as I can remember. And you had the tribe of Benjamin that never separated from the tribe of Judah. They were synonymous all the way. And we don't have any clue. We've done research as to who the disciples were. And, he called Matthew Levi. So that's the only implication. But we don't know if that name, Levi, that he called him, I think he called him Levi. And is that an indication of his tribe? But there's nothing given that makes it important like Paul did. Mm. Paul said he was of the tribe of Benjamin. And, he was given the name Saul. If he was chosen for this work, then that means God would have determined what his name was.
At the very least, Michael, this is something to think about. Wow.
It's one of those things. I'm swimming in the pool and I'm turning around saying, you guys think about this. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm there, and I don't make any apologies. I'm willing to change my mind about it, as always. But we are going to be checking in with Robert May. I think he has more information on this. And I want him to hear this and see what he thinks about what we've come up with also. And, there's just we've got so many GRs that are doing so much research and understanding. There's things that others have learned that we now are shoveling out to you as steady diet of the gospel now, we give everybody credit for everything that we learn from. I will not do that. I've seen the hypocrisy of that, and then going and teaching something and pretending that it was your personal private revelation. No, a man who studies the scriptures learned something and told them about it, and then they turned it into a personal revelation from Jesus. I'm not going to rag on these guys today, but so I'm not going to rag on these guys today. I've got several things I'd like to say. However, you've heard them before, so there's no need going there. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's just arrogance or pride or what it is, but when you take the very things that somebody said, this is how I learned this. This is what I saw in my mind. And you repeat that verbatim. And, and then teach I taught these guys, and, then have no clue who this person is at all. I mean, it's really quite amazing to me, but it's all just comical to me. I don't have a bone to pick with any of them. What it did something for me, and that is make me know that it really is important to acknowledge who you learn things from. Instead of going around saying the Lord showed me this and the Lord showed me that. How about Daniel showed me this? How about Ethan? How about Lisa McPeak? How about, our buddy we're talking about right now? And Jackie Bernard. I mean, the things I've learned from people, from Al and from Mel. And I mean, gosh, Mel has shared things with us about parables that have just been amazing. And we love it all. We don't have a corner on truth. Truth is truth. Mike Williams is Mike Williams. Daniel Rouse is Daniel Rouse. And everybody else is looking to validate and try to find truth. We're not trying to validate our doctrine. We're trying to see what is the truth still. Mm-hmm. Even with the volumes of things that we have taught you, we're still willing that all of those things be put up to question, because if it can't be scrutinized, then it's not the truth. And that's what really blows my mind about, especially our mystic friends. They just will not listen to a question at all. And to me, that says that they're insecure about what they think. They brush it off as, oh, well, you're just you're a Bible thumper. We're not going to talk to you. No, I didn't come in telling you my doctrine. I came in asking you a question about what you teach. And you recognize the question as coming from someone who doesn't completely see this as you do, and so you just block them. Mm. I don't get that stuff. It's childishness to me. And maybe it's childish of me to be rapping on them all the time, but I just think they deserve a knock on the head. May be wrong, but hey. So this is, what we've come up with here now in this conclusions. And we're going to, I don't know, maybe doing another, number 10 on the 1,000-year reign. This is what, number 9, Daniel?
Yep, this is number 9.
We're going to get so many that we're going to have more in the 1,000-year reign than we did in the Revelation. And I think that was our longest one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It may have been. I just don't remember. But anyway. So this issue of Paul's anointing, I know it does something really wonderful in my thinking to understand that there is a real greater than likelihood that Paul was indeed, as he and Jesus is quoted of saying. See, I've always wondered, why would Jesus appear again like that? And everybody's wondered that. But if it was because these things had already been finished before at the cross, all Jesus is doing is just seeing the finishing touches,
Mm-hmm.
And so King Saul went through this transformation. He went downhill, but he persecuted David relentlessly. It's amazing to read the similar statements. Saul, yet breathing out threatenings against against the way. And that's exactly what Saul did. He was breathing out threatenings against David. It's all very fascinating. It does help those of us who have found a great deal of serenity and confidence in Paul. It does give us a great deal more of reason to trust.
Mm.
Yet, even with Paul having this calling upon his life, it's still, his teachings have to be compared. Here's the thing I can tell you. We have, in all cases, and still we're getting much better at doing this. Daniel is like lightning with it. He always, if he can find a Hebrew verse that's quoted from, he's going back there. Ethan and Lisa McPeak are all that way too. And the one thing, Daniel, you can correct me if this is not right. Every single writer, including the writer of Hebrews, we have found they misquoted the Hebrew scriptures.
Yeah.
And at least once, and with Peter and James. James does one that he says it's there and it's not, nobody's ever found it.
Mm-hmm.
He says this is in the Hebrew scriptures, and we've had Bible scholars looking for it forever, and it's just not there. I mean, in any form, anyway. I did my own search on it, and Don Bartlett did his own search of it. James the Jerk. That's why he finally just called him James the Jerk. When he first did that, it's like, oh, Don, we got enough problems as it is. Come on. Let's not call him a jerk, but my appeals were unheeded, that's for sure. But this is just where we are, folks. We are in a place where we are coming to a stronger conclusion about the gospel of Jesus Christ is brought out by Paul the Apostle almost exclusively.
Mm. Beautiful.
And I was just explaining to a person that I'm working out at the gym. He was raised with a pastor father, and we went through Romans, all the things that would be familiar. You know how it says, whosoever calls on the name of the Lord. Yeah, I know that. For with the heart man believes unto righteousness. You happen to know that. And faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word. Yep. Dad used to teach on that all the time. I said, did you know Paul was teaching against that?
Mm.
And so he said, well, what do you mean? And so I pointed out what was said before, during, and after those statements. And then I told him then after he said that, no, it's not this, it's not this, and it's not this. Because, and I remember when I quoted to him, like, faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word. I said, do you know what the next verse is? And of course he said, no. And I said, Paul said, they've all heard. So why don't they all have faith?
Mm.
Haven't they all heard?
Yeah.
And he got that. He said, so Paul said, they've all heard. So then why don't they all have faith?
Come on.
If faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word. Yeah, I see that. I said, do you know what he said after that? He said, nope, I don't. I said, that's when God said, I was found by them that did not seek for me, ask for me. They didn't know me, didn't want me. In fact, they weren't even a people.
Wow.
And I made them my people. And I said, that's Paul's gospel.
Yeah.
So we just had to give it a little Paul teaching there. Romans, my God, when you ever allow the Hebrew scriptures to help you understand Paul's writings, and understand that book of Romans was written to Peter's church, who Paul was trying to correct Peter's doctrine. And he states all of Peter's doctrine all the way through it, and then comes at the end of it. And then that's when he breaks out into his euphoria and says, you guys have got it all wrong. He said, God declared everybody in unbelief so that he could have mercy upon all. Oh, the goodness of the richness of God. How great it is. It's too big. It's too marvelous. It's too wonderful. And I've called it Paul's euphoria ever since. And it seems to be picking up that people pick that up around the planet almost. But it is Paul's euphoria. And you know what, Daniel? It's our euphoria.
Yeah. I feel euphoric.
I do too.
And so it is. We must leave you, family and friends. If you'd like to know anything about the Gospel Revolution, then call our office on
832-318-9339.
And speak to us about how you want to participate, or go to www.gospelrevolution.com and hit the connect link. You can find us on your favorite social media network, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please be sure to hit that subscribe, share, and like button on whatever platform you are listening. Now it's good night from Daniel Rouse in the soon-to-be truly frozen tundra.
Yeah. And it's good night from Mike Williams here in Recovery City. I'm in a rapid recovery from my more than 2 years. Some of you have been so kind and said, Mike, I couldn't tell it. You really hit it very well. Well, I did try to hide it. Why tell people bad news they can't do anything about, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I wanted to tell you because it all turned around and very unexpectedly. And now I am regaining and beginning to get what I consider a normal life, a gym life. I love a gym life. I love the weights. I love stretching. I love getting in there and doing the work. It just makes me feel wonderful. And that with the gospel on the inside, goodness, an old man couldn't ask for a better life. We really appreciate you guys.
We sure hope that you enjoyed today's Powercast. And remember, we'll be here to do the same thing all over again next week, only
much better.
So you're knocking on the door, you're begging to come in, yeah. Unaware that all the while love's been knocking from within. You are the love you seek, a perfect yet unique, righteous, holy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you feel lost and alone, staring at the unknown, and these words be the cause that guides you back home. We are one, we are love, we are. you gotta be nothing to complete. It's not a thing that you need, you're the love. Just remember to breathe and take a second off. Look, I'm just trying to remind you that you're perfectly divine, flawlessly designed. When you feel lost and alone, staring at the unknown, let these words be the compass that guides you back home. We are one, we are love, we are one. Yeah, yeah. We are love.
Deconstructing religion and barbecuing the sacred cows of Christianity before your very eyes. You are listening to
The Gospel Revolution.